Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jody, and on my channel I talk about Broadway and books. And if you're not new here, thank you so very much for your continued support. It really means so very much to me. So in today's video, I'll be continuing my Broadway show series where I talk about every Broadway show I ever saw over the 20 years I was seeing Broadway shows on a regular basis, also known, as the best years of my life, years that I look back on now and I am, both happy and sad because I haven't seen any shows in quite a few years now. And I know I'm going to get a bit off track here before I get into what the purpose of this video is actually all about. But I know I've been mentioning that a lot in the last few videos. I did make a video several months ago where I talked kind of about why. I should probably make an updated video, a realistic video on whether I'm seeing shows in the future anymore or not. But it's just a video I don't really want to make. It's a very hard topic for me to talk about. It makes me extremely sad. I have that sadness on the top of the sadness I already had before not seeing shows or having shows in my life any longer. Yeah, the last 2 years, like in general, have just been so difficult to get through. And as far as today, have I cried for most of today? Yeah, I have. And I didn't want today to be all about that. So I was like, let me put on my t-shirt for the musical that I'm not going to be talking about today, but a musical called, the Addams Family musical. My t-shirt, I don't have a sunny disposition. Wednesday's right there on the t-shirt. And let me pretend to be Wednesday and not let the sadness get to me and just like salvage this day in one way or another by talking about a Broadway show that I actually did get to see and didn't have to miss out on seeing. So yeah, a little bit off topic there, but just in case my energy's been on the lower side, I'm usually always sad, honestly, but I try to be happy when I talk about anything in these videos that I make. Yeah, the sadness just always stays with you, whatever. What can I say? Anyway, so anyway, transition now to something more happy, talking about a show now. So as per usual with the series on my channel, I'll talk about who was in the cast of my performance, who was on the creative team, how I liked the show, any favorite songs and moments I had from the show, how I liked the show. I don't know, I think I said that. And anything interesting I find played along the way. So without any further ado, let's get on to today's show. So today I'll be talking about the 18th Broadway show I ever saw, which was, I can't talk, I'm sorry. The Broadway revival of a very well-known musical that I'm sure, even if you love theater or you don't love theater, it's a show you've heard of, and that would be Oklahoma. So I saw this show in April 2002 on a bus trip at the Gershwin Theater, which for the last 20 years, the Gershwin Theater has been home to the very popular musical Wicked, which I will eventually be talking about in 2 separate videos in this series, as I got to see it twice on Broadway. And the first was actually like a month after it officially opened, so it's pretty wild that the show's still playing on Broadway. I really like that show, and so be sure to stay tuned for that. I'm getting off topic, so let's get on into what is in the playbill. Okay. So here's the page with the credits of everyone involved in the production. And then the page with the lead and supporting performers. And then the page with the chorus, understudies, and standbys. And then the page with the cast list. So, this had an amazing Broadway cast. I've seen so many of these performers go on to be in other Broadway shows or movie and television, so a lot of these names might sound familiar to you if you're a fan of Broadway movies and television. Patrick Wilson played the lead of Curly. Like I said, I saw this show in April 2002, but if you've been following this series on my channel, you may remember me talking about the musical The Full Monty, and I actually saw him in that show as well. And that was I saw that show in October 2001, so this was April 2002. This was literally the next show that he did after The Full Monty. So it was super cool to see him in another show again. You had Josephina Gabrielle, Andrea Martin, Cheryl Hensley, Jessica Bovers, Justin Bowen, Asif Madiv, and then Clyde Alves, Stephen R. Bontrock, Merwin Ford, Catherine Renford, Tony Asback. A lot of these performers I went on to see in other shows. These are the names of some of the performers who I recognize from having seen them in other shows. And this is just a bit of a Broadway fun fact for you. And I'm sure if you have seen a lot of Broadway shows, you already know this. But Clyde Alves and Tony Asback actually several years later went on to work again in another Broadway revival on the town. I believe it was 2015. So Broadway fun fact if you didn't know that. But yeah. So now on to the creative team. There were a few people on this creative team that I recognize their names from having seen them work on other shows. So that's always super cool to, see. I'll just show that page with the credits again just to refresh everyone's memory and, my memory as well. Warren Carlisle, he was associate choreographer, and this I actually did not remember offhand. I was surprised when I looked in Playbill that I forgot, but Susan Stroman did the choreography for this, so that was super cool to, I guess, be reminded. And then Trevor Nunn directed the production. And as far as how I liked the show, I really liked this show. It was the first time I ever saw Oklahoma on the Broadway stage. Or on stage, period. I've never seen a production of Oklahoma. I think this was the only time I've ever saw Oklahoma on stage. But I really liked it. It was just a really high energy, great production. The choreography was really amazing. The performances were really amazing. It was just like a really wonderful, grand production of on a classic musical. I'm surprised and not surprised to hear that, me talk about how I like this show so much, but it's true. I really like the show so much. But I would say if you knew my taste on average, when it comes to musicals, I usually like campy, over the top stage adaptations or like really heavy, dark, existential shows. So it's, I'm usually not like someone who it's when it comes to classic Broadway revivals, I'm usually not like, oh, I have to see that. But 9 times out of 10, I usually really like them, and I'm really, really glad and appreciative and thankful that I got to see this production of Oklahoma. It just had, like I said, such a great cast, and I just really liked it. I simply liked it. And now for my favorite maybe songs in the show, I'll do the musical numbers and all that jazz. Chicago. For a different show. Here's the page with the musical numbers from Act 1 and Act 2. Okay. So, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. That is like such an amazing number to open the show. I just really remember that being like such a highlight. And then let's see, what other numbers did I really like. I know the ballet number in it's Out of My Dreams ballet. That number, everyone talks about that in Oklahoma, like whether it's necessary or not. I don't really remember that moment too much in the show, but I don't know. It didn't bother me. I think some people don't care for it. I don't know. Is that a thing? I don't know. I feel like I heard that somewhere. I don't know. And then obviously, oh, People Will Say We're in Love. That's a good song. Oklahoma. That's a good song from the show, as it is called Oklahoma. But yeah, I like that number too. So I'll just talk about anything interesting in the playbill along the way. I will say before I start that in 2019 they did a revival of Oklahoma at the Circle in the Square Theater, which I Ironically, is the theater right next to the Gershwin Theater where the show premiered like almost 20 years prior. Well, it didn't premiere on Broadway, but that's where the show played almost 20 years ago. And then the next revival played at the theater next to it, which was super cool. But I really, really wanted to see that. I feel like when it comes to Broadway revivals now, for me, I've been lucky enough to have seen, I guess, what the original one looked like. Like, this probably looked like very similar to the one that premiered on Broadway when it first was on Broadway. Um, like, I like how in the last few years, even though I didn't get to see that production of Oklahoma in 2019, I really wanted to. But what I'm trying to say, I really like how in the last few years, when it comes to Broadway revivals of classic shows, how, you know, now I haven't seen these shows, so I don't know if I would have liked them or not. But I like how they're just like, they're not doing like a carbon copy of what has been done before. They're trying to change it up, and just make it like a bit different. And I feel like if I were to want to see a revival of a show that I have seen already, that's what I would be looking for. I don't want to see something I've seen already, because I've seen it already. So I really like that aspect of them doing that with a lot of these Broadway revivals, and like Cabaret, the one that's coming in I think March, that's going to be at the August Wilson Theater. I like how they're changing it up a bit. So it's like if you have seen the show, you can go into the show knowing you're going to see a show you like, but you might be seeing something a little bit different, which makes it more exciting. And I don't know, that was a bit off topic, but I just thought I'd talk about it. Yes, so now for anything interesting in the playbill along the way. And like I said, I saw the show in April 2002, as it's listed right there in the playbill. And here's a whole article in here about this production of Oklahoma. And then the page, I think, continues. The next, I think it's a few pages long. Wow. Oh, I thought there was another page because it said ... at the end of the paragraph for the last paragraph, and I was like, is one other page? And there's Patrick Wilson as Curly. So that's a fun article. And then at the time, a stage adaptation of The Graduate had just either begun on Broadway or had opened on Broadway. I remember when this was on Broadway too, and I almost had a chance to see it on a bus trip, but I never got around to getting the tickets, so it never happened. But yeah, this I don't know, I kind of wanted to see this. I think this show played at the Plymouth Theater, which I don't know what theater that is now. I can't think, but whatever, I remember this when this was on Broadway. Hopefully this camera is focusing. Sorry if it's not perfect. This page, I think it's, yeah, last page in the playbill, which there's no pictures or anything, so it's not really necessary to show, but full experience of the playbill. And then another, this had a pretty great playbill because a lot of shows had just started or were in previews or had officially opened for the season. But a show called The Sweet Smell of Success, which I think that's a few shows from now, but I'll be talking about that. There was an article in here about that new musical that starred Brian Darcy James and John Lithgow and Kelly O'Hara. Yeah, I'll talk about that show eventually, but I just, thought I mentioned some of these shows, articles. Anything else? This video's getting a bit long, I apologize. Oh, and then there was advertisement. Oh, wow. Oh, I thought it almost musical on Broadway. Okay, so this had opened at this point. I thought for a second, oh, this hadn't opened yet, but Thoroughly Modern Millie, advertisement for that. Another show I will be talking about in the future, probably a while from now on. I think I saw this in September of 2002, so not too far from now, but yeah, kind of. Oh, and then I'm like showing every page of the playbill, but it's a really great playbill. What can I say? There was an article in here about the new plays on Broadway. Proof was on Broadway at this moment in time. I would have loved to have seen that because I'm such a huge fan of Marilyse Parker, and she's like one of those performers I've always wanted to see in a Broadway show, and it still hasn't happened. Will it ever happen now for me? Probably not, because I don't know if I'm seeing shows anymore. But yeah, there was a whole thing in here, and here's some of the new shows. I don't know if the camera is going to show that clearly, but yeah, Proof. I always wanted to see that. Ugh. I did eventually get to see a regional production, so technically I saw the show, and I did see the movie, but the show is always better than the movie, or adaptation, as the saying goes. Um, wow, this is a great playbill. They had a whole article in here about Sutton Foster and Hunter Foster, their brother and sister, but they're like famous Broadway performers. I'm sure everybody knows Sutton Foster. She got her big breakout role in Thoroughly Modern Millie, and then Hunter Foster has done so many Broadway shows. But at the time she was in Millie and he was in Urinetown, and they just have a whole article in here about the two of them. So talented. But yeah. I think I might have showed almost every page of the playbill. Let's see. Talk about. Oh, here's an advertisement for Urinetown, another show I will eventually be talking about in the future, as I got to see it on Broadway. And then the next Broadway show I will be talking about is my 19th Broadway show, which was right there, Aida. Okay, so yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video, where I talked about my. Oh wait, today Aida is my 19th Broadway show. I think I said it was my 18th Broadway show. Today I talked about my 18th Broadway show, which was the Broadway revival of Oklahoma. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. I just wanted to say thanks for listening to me talk about feeling sad and how I cried for most of today. And of course, thanks for tuning in to once again to me talking about a Broadway show in this Broadway show series of mine. Thank you so very much for tuning in. It means so very much to me, and I hope you are all doing well, better than I am, which I'm sure most of you are doing better than I am, because I am doing not so great, as we all know. But yeah. Thanks so very much for watching. Until next time, bye.